Hello, everybody, and welcome to Donington Park for the fourth round of the J2iCS Sprint Series. It's F3 racing again here. It's Wednesday night, and we're very much glad to be here again for another couple of great races. I'm sure it's going to be. Myself, Ian O'Leary, taking you through the action alongside Jim Cunningham here tonight. It is good to be here at my home circuit, actually, Donington Park in the United Kingdom. Difficult, short British circuit, including tonight the Grand Prix extension as well. Instead of going right into the chicane, as you may often see on the national layout, we're going to go left into turns 9 and 10 and take on the Melbourne Hairpin and Goddard's Corner as well here in the F3s. Should give our lap times a little bit more length and make this feel like a bit of more of a proper circuit for these cars that are relatively quick, actually, and do suit this circuit, I think, quite well. Good to be alongside you, Jim, for this round of the championship. We're just into qualifying at the moment. We'll have racing coming up very shortly, but it's Donington Park in F3 cars. I think a combination that is really actually well suited, and hopefully we're going to see some good racing, good F3 racing here tonight.
Yeah, I think we will. I love, I love this circuit, and I'm excited to see what we're going to get here. I don't know a lot about the track. It's not, in my history being from the United States, but I love these cars too. I love the fact these guys are racing these cars. F3 cars have kind of washed out of popularity on iRacing due to the fact that they brought in, the Super Formula Light car, and that kind of took over. But I love to see these older cars. These are hard to drive, very hard to drive.
It's going to be an exciting night tonight. Let's have a look at the championship standings and where we are coming into this round, because we have, would you believe it or not, already had 3 rounds of our championship in Interlagos, Okayama and Chicago 2 weeks ago. So Squilliam is currently leading the point standings, currently on 138, just in front of Nottavin. That's a gap of 26. If you want me to do the maths as well. Bozak is in third place, another 10 points back. And then Nicoleta, the first driver, who has not got 100 points yet, just ahead of Beaver, who's had some good runs so far this season. Beaver tied with Urko for 5th. Then it's Cat Daddy in 7th, ahead of Yo Mega. Just 3 points further behind. Spook Dubs and Captain CK rounding out the top 10. In fact, none of these gaps are very big, actually, running right the way down to the rest of the top 20. Biker Pilot just outside with Pebble next, and then DC. Dutch and Golic Dog rounding out the top 15 with Etmidust and Bot 14. Next up, they're only separated by a point. Simply Steve and Black Bob and AJ rounding out the top 20. It's all very close in the midfield. That's one of the key things, actually, as we scroll down to the bottom. One of the key things that we were, at least the guys in the league were talking about before this race, if you're in that midfield, especially just off of those top 2 positions, you can gain a lot of positions very quickly tonight. These are the championship standings. Night Racing beginning to get a bit of a lead, but it's not a large one. Just 7 points over Vision Motorsports with Nick Squad in 3rd. Then there's a bit further of a gap back to Bong Life Motorsport and Lap Traffic rounding out the top 5. Rookie Success are the last team which have more than 100 points. Maccabee Motorsports are in 7th. That is Speed Squad, Full Contact, ZFG Racing and Scuderia DNF, who are rounding out the team's standings. It's all very close, Jim. We've only had a few rounds, but someone has a good round today. Oh. Hello. All right. So apologies for these technical problems. We will get the we'll get iRacing sorted again. It has gone down on us. So we will get back up again, and we will be back in a few moments' time with the live feed. But as I mentioned, it is so close in the championship right now. In fact, and this was much of the discussion going on before the race, tied for 5th place, Beaver and Urko. They're only, 17 points ahead of Biker Pilot in 11th. That's 7 drivers covered by just 17 points. That's pretty remarkable when you consider that the top driver's got, Squilliam, of course, has got 138 points over the course of this season so far. A couple of other talking points to go through here at Donington Park. Of course, that championship battle between Nottingham and Squilliam that is only separated by 26 points. Nottingham did show that he can hang with Squilliam on occasion at Chicago 2 weeks ago. Will he be able to do that season long, though? That's the real difficulty, and that's the real key. Squilliam's got 4 wins to Nottingham's singular victory, and that is going to be a bit of a problem to try and overcome over the course of this season. In the practice sessions, by the way, we of course have those on Friday, Sunday and Tuesday. Nottingham topped 2 of the sessions, getting periodically faster every time, actually, at Nottingham. Although on Tuesday, last night, Squilliam was able to go a little bit quicker. The only time he, I think, was even in the session. So he was able to get that better time and able to move up as a result. It looks like we're back into iRacing now. And we are just into qualifying, actually. Squilliam with a 1:20.6 has currently got the best time. That's actually a couple of attempts slower than what he's been able to do in practice in previous weeks. And so he'll be hoping that he can improve in these last few moments. We're not actually very far away from the end of qualifying. And it does look like Squilliam here, Jim, has taken control early on in this session.
Yeah, I've only done the one race of the Formula 3s with these guys. I've done the endurance, and I'll be doing most of the rest of the season. Squilliam's fast in everything he gets into, just like Nottingham. But I don't have a lot of experience other than that Chicago race, which was, as you said earlier, when I was trying to fix these get the stuff repaired. That Chicago race was incredible, and it was an absolute show that Nottingham put on, coming from way back. It's like 17 seconds or something, and ran them down. It was fantastic. So, but yeah, I think I think Squilliam and Nottingham are probably going to be the class of the field, even though I'm not 100% sure on some of these other guys. Don't race the endurance series, so they're kind of fresh to me.
Yeah, we will. We'll see how they get on. Tonight's racing, by the way, in case you've not been with us this season, it is the sprint season, and so it's a 20-minute first race, followed by a 40-minute second race, where the top 8 will be inverted. That will be just under half the field here. You'll have to work for it to get into that invert, and you will have to make a pit stop in that second race as well. The anticipated maximum for the fuel tank is 28 minutes round here, and that means you will be able to make it to the end of the first race without making a stop, although you will need to splash for about a third of the original tank. That's about 17% of the actual big tank of these F3 cars to get to the end of the race. We are limited to 50% fuel here in this series compared to what the F3 cars can normally carry. So that is all to be factored in as we go through these races. Let's see who's going to improve on times here. Well, Nottingham's certainly not going to. He's well off right now in this qualifying session. In this lap, excuse me. And that's a spin in the final corner for Sneezy Jr., who's currently in 9th place. That will leave Jay Meyer to make his way around the final corner now and on to the front straight in sort of a bit of a retro Lotus Formula 1 livery, which I'm quite enjoying at the moment.
Right, me too,
He's going to improve, though. Yeah, don't know if he's going to improve, but that is a bit of a throwback, isn't it? Nice bit of a throwback. Well, I'll say throwback. You only have to go back as far as about 2014 to find a livery pretty similar, but
that's
a
a
nice
throwback.
Livery,
I hate to break the news to you. That's a throwback now.
Yeah. Oh dear.
I mean, you were quite a young man when that livery was ran. Talk about throwback liveries real quick. We got I don't think we're going to have anybody else that's going to cross the line in time. It does not. Nope, I don't think so. That was it. Okay. So let's wait here for the grid to get ready to pop up. But so this past week I did I had done the here we go. Let's grid. I'll tell that story in a minute.
Let's get to the grid. It is Squilliam who is on pole for this race, ahead of Nottingham in second. Black Bob Wallace and Bozak share row 2 with AJ just over half a second back. Nicolator is in 6th ahead of DC and Ryan Schwab, who are on row 4. Sneezy Jr. and Jess Meyer round out the top 10. Just is alongside G-Spot. That is the front 6 rows, and they're just over a second off of pole. Next up is Biker Pilot, who's 13th, with Yomega in 14th. Ammerman, Beaver and Pebble round out the 17 drivers who are all in the field here today at Donington Park. They will have a couple of minutes to get gridded up and think about their run down in towards turn 1. Quite a short run here at Donington Park, but an important one it is going to be as well, especially for Squilliam, who's on the pole, and he'll look to maintain that pole position through turn 1 at Redgate, you would hope.
I'm actually excited to be doing this race with you, somebody who's very knowledgeable about this track, because I'm sure there's some idiosyncrasies here that maybe I don't know, you know.
Well, here we go. Let's see how these drivers deal with Donington Park as the J2iCS Sprint Series gets underway here from the British circuit. It is Squilliam who takes the lead in towards turn 1, and Notovin holding off Wallace quite well in towards turn 1. A little bit wide there from DC, was it maybe? Just through the opening corner, but Squilliam certainly has got off to a good start. Down the Craner curves for the first time they come, and in towards the old hairpin. This is turn 4. And Squilliam immediately getting off to a very good start. Notovin in second, then it's Blackbird Wallace, followed by AJ and DC running up the top 5 in a very clean start from everybody here in this race.
Very clean. Yeah, that was quite impressive. There, nobody put their car even close to in danger there. That was very impressive.
Oh, I'll say that. DC's now gone wide. As soon as we say that, off the top of the hill through Coppice, and he's going to drop down at least to 8th, maybe 9th. Biker Pilot just slips through on the way down in towards the chicane, and so, yeah, DC down to 9th place. Unfortunately, as I was saying, it was a clean start as well. Sneezy Jr. and G-Spot were sending each other off the road on the run towards McLean's, just as after they went under Starkey's Bridge. I don't know if we can get a replay once things calm down a little bit here in the opening lap of this race, because it is still quite lively, but they've certainly taken each other off, and they're way down in the field. They're actually a very long way off the back of the pack right now because of what went on lap 1. But it's Squilliam who's converted pole into an early race lead ahead of Notovin, and then Black Bob Wallace, who is holding off AJ, who was side by side briefly with Nicolator, by the way, for 4th place, ahead of Bozak as well, who is in that 6th position. It was a good start for the leaders at least, but we have got a couple of drivers off the circuit, and that is expected because this is a difficult circuit.
Let me see if we can go back and get that Sneezy Jr. That's kind of after they went off track. Let's see. This is DC's off track here, I believe.
Yeah, just on the power too early.
Yep.
Through the top of the hill.
All right, let's see if I don't think I can get far enough back on that one.
Well, that's the rejoin there. It looks like at least that. There we go. There's a bit further forward. G-Spot was off the ground there, and there was a bit of afters as well as they were laying to rest. Sneezy Jr. very nearly. Well, he did hit G-Spot. I've seen he's bent that front wing right out of shape on the car in behind. They both rather gingerly got back underway again, and they are now a long way down off the back of the pack. It actually looks like they both pitted in as well there. So they're 16th and 17th, a long way off the back of the pack now, and a long way off these two. Squilliam and Notovin leading 1 and 2 at the end of the second lap.
Yeah, by a good distance, as you can see there in that shot. That's they've opened up quite a gap there. Well, I guess about two seconds already, which is a nice sized gap here.
But it is to Black Bob Wallace, who is currently 3rd. Looking pretty comfortable as well, actually, in that 3rd position. The real battle's for 4th, I suppose, between Nicolator, AJ and Bozak. And Bozak actually alongside AJ, now 4th, 5th place. Look at this. This is exactly how Sneezy Jr. and G-Spot ended up off the road. But these two show the respect deserved, and they indeed get a nice bit of side-by-side as a result. But AJ, working his way around the outside, manages to hold on to 5th place. And Bozak goes off the road. Emma just follows him, just wide over the top at Coppice. And it looks like DC is going to capitalise on a mistake that he made only a couple of laps ago. DC down the inside. He's back to 7th again after Epidus did exactly what he did on lap 1.
Yeah, I tell you what, DC he's slinging that car around right now. You know, the back end's jumping all over the place. Looks like he's overdriving it a little bit. You know, he got rattled maybe or something, and he's got to smooth it out a little bit, or he's gonna Eat My Dust is gonna go right on by him.
All over the line again, and DC up to 7th position as we follow the battle for 4th again. Nicoletta versus AJ. They are the closest battle, certainly inside the top 10 right now anyway, down the Craner curves. Oh, Notavin just in front has gone a bit wide through the old hairpin. I don't think it was a major mistake, but he's just lost a bit of time now. He's about a second off of Squilliam, and there you can exactly see almost what would have happened to Notavin. You saw it happening at the bottom of your screen there. DC just running slightly wide. Nothing too much to worry about, but you will get an off track for that. And you will want to keep on top of those in these short races, even though hitting the instant limit shouldn't be too much of a problem.
This shows Pebble. It says Pebble crashed. Oh man, that looked like a brake bias issue there. As soon as he touched the brakes, that thing snapped around. Okay, well, he got
look a little bit weird actually.
Yeah, that seemed like the brake bias might have been way out of balance, and as soon as he touched it, it just snapped the car around, which will happen. That certainly happened. But the funny thing was that wasn't a high braking zone or an extremely hard turn, you know? A little strange.
Yeah, it's not a huge braking zone. 20-minute opening race. We'll have a second 40-minute race with a top 8 inverted, by the way, coming up in this session. As well, I'm not seeing any.
No, it's iRacing seems like it's blipping out or something.
Oh,
I'm going to work on that real quick.
There we go. We're back again. Yeah, the iRacing certainly looking like it has a couple of problems right now. I hope that the drivers in the sim themselves are not experiencing the same such problems. Be ideal to race with. Yeah, they'd be all over the place if they were only able to see what's happening periodically. No, there's a reason iRacing was made into something bigger than a slideshow. It's a bit difficult otherwise. So Squilliam should still be leading the race. Not have been just in behind, and was trying to stay with him, much like what we saw at Chicago, but is actually struggling a little bit more now in this opening race. Blackbird Wallace in 3rd, actually pretty comfortable in that 3rd position as well. Nicoletta just another second behind, and that battle probably is still going on for 4th position between Nicoletta, AJ and Bozak. They're 3 of the drivers, by the way, we've been talking about in a really close championship battle for 3rd place, effectively. The AJ can't quite be figured as part of that because he's down in 20th place at the moment, but the other 2 are right up there. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we're not entirely sure what's ongoing in our racing at the moment, so we'll give it another restart and try again. But at the moment, it's struggling with us today for whatever reason. I did see, by the way, earlier on, a lap or so ago, Gavin Ammerman might have found himself off the circuit. He certainly dropped a couple of positions in pretty quick success, and he's now only just ahead of Meyer and Yomega as well in the battle for 12th place. That will likely continue on, or maybe not. We'll see when we rejoin. But Ammerman is now on the defensive, you could say.
Well, luckily
in this situation,
luckily they got this is only the sprint race, so essentially the qualifying race, and they're going to have that inversion. So if he could sneak back up into the top 8 or something, put himself right up there at the front of the pack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the beauty of having a second race, if you like. They both do score solid points, by the way, for both of the places, but yeah, you do get an invert top 8 for this second race, and you also get a double length race as well, if you like. So as we rejoin, AJ is a couple of positions further back than before. He's actually on the attack there at the bottom of your screen. Like a pilot, the one who's had to, well, you would say go on the defensive, but actually just stayed to the racing line and let that happen to him, really. AJ's on the outside this time around, with Biker Pilot on the inside. Breaks a bit early, though, and that will allow Schwab to get a little bit closer, along with Beaver as well, as they come over the line. So AJ with, AJ with problems somewhere along the line, and he was down as low as 8th there on our screen, but now he's just made an overtake, got back up to 7th again. It
looks like Nick Beaver, while we were gone, and maybe Sneezy Jr. Were involved in an incident. I'm going to see if I can take a look at it. I'm not sure that it's going to be there, but let's try and see what happens. That was probably not the best idea. We'll go back to live and stick with that for now.
Yeah,
you gotta love technology.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it never works.
No, we're good. We're focusing right here on the best battle on the track. This whole midsection here from, 7th place down to 10th. That's the best little battle on the track right there. Look at that. They're very right up on top of each other.
Absolutely, and we're getting to that stage in the race now where we're probably into the second half. I don't know if we can see the countdown on how long we have remaining in the session just at the moment, but it is 20 minutes for this first race, of course. I reckon we're probably just about over halfway in terms of laps completed, and Nottervin at the moment is leading the race by some distance. So that is another change that we've seen in the while we were away, unfortunately. Squilliam is Beaver off the road and without a front wing there in the background.
Oh, my goodness.
May have hit AJ or something else, but that car has got no front wing and it's off into the gravel at turn 1.
Yeah, let's see if we can. He's dropping down, of course. Let's see. Take a look at it. Oh, yeah, he's no front wing, all right. He's got his feet hanging out there, as James would say. That's a James line, by the way. In case any of you guys were missing him, that was definitely a James line.
I've not heard him say that before.
Oh, no, all the time, yeah. Especially in those radical races. He loves to talk about the front ends getting knocked off and the guy having his feet hanging out, and he's going to have cold toes, and that's James. Let's go back and see here what exactly did happen. He just kind of lost it there.
That's through the. I wonder whether that's more recently or further in the past through Klein's corner.
Let's see. He went off track a couple times. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's
him rejoining.
Yeah, and he's already missing the front wing here, isn't he? All right.
Yeah, so I reckon he's running to the back of someone at turn 1, if such a thing is possible.
He's got like 30 notifications on here but none of them are a wreck.
I can imagine it's pinging off all over the place right now.
It is. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to find where he.
Well, there's the slide off again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's there. Like I said, he's got like 30 notifications on here, but nevertheless, halfway through this race, and he's still out there though. He's gonna run it with no front wing.
Oh well.
We ought to go see.
He's pitted in. He's got it again now. So.
He does. That was a quick pit if he did.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Squilliam, by the way, just got past Nicolator for 3rd. Clearly something's happened to Squilliam while we were away, and that has demoted the race leader all the way down to 4th place. It was. Now it's 3rd place. He just got ahead of Nicolator, but he's got just over 6 minutes to go in this first race. Positions can Squilliam go on and gain now in this sort of recovery drive, which this has come into now. The championship leader having to save face a little bit here and gain some of these points back.
And that's not a bad thing. It'll kind of be reminiscent of what we're going to see in the next race a little bit, where these guys have to come back through the pack. The question is, has he damaged his stuff enough that he can't catch old Black Bob here? He's almost 2 seconds behind.
He's going to get there, surely. It looks to
I mean,
anyway,
he's fast. He probably will.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll catch Donovan unless Donovan makes a mistake.
No, I think you're right. There's just not enough time remaining in the race. Don't forget that, if this was race 2, we'd still have over 25 minutes to go, and we'd be thinking, well, it probably is actually possible for him to get up to the race lead, but not in this opening race where there is such a short amount of time. That was quite wide as well from Black Bob into the Melbourne hairpin, which won't help. And will only promote Squilliam further. We'll just take a look at the lap times here as they go over the line. They'll pop up on the tower on their own on the left-hand side of your screen if you want to follow along at home. Nottavin, 21.4. That's not a personal best because it's in white. Same for Wallace, 21.5. But there is a personal best from Squilliam. A whole second faster than Black Bob Wallace. Surely that is going to mean by the end of this lap probably he'll be applying the pressure.
He probably will. That was, that was a heck of a lap right there. Fastest lap of the race, actually. He's got the pedal down now. All right, let's
just
see.
Behind him, Nicoletta just went wide there, sorry, through the old hairpin. He's fine, though. He's back onto the circuit ahead of Bozak, who is in 4th place. Here's the onboard with Squilliam as we take a look at just the lines he's using and how he's cutting through this circuit. Seemingly better than Black Bob at the moment. It's not quite coming down the same degree this time around. And to be fair, with 4 minutes to go, there's not going to be that much time left for him to make this move either. It'll be 3 laps to go when they get to the line.
Yeah, he's cutting these corners for sure. He's it's a good line to watch his line around this track to see the fast way. Here he is. Oh no, huh? Oh. Got nervous there. It's got me. I got PTSD now. It's not fair. Yeah, especially I don't want to miss this pass too. He's done run him down.
He has done a good job here. There's a response, by the way, from Nottavin, the personal best from him, but maybe Squilliam's going to go one better. No, not quite this time around. You'd probably make a case that he's actually being held up now by Black Bob a little bit in this battle for second, but that is the natural. As they go down the Craner curves now in towards the old hairpin. Hopefully they'll come back again. Here they are, in towards the old hairpin itself. And Black Bob will hang on here. Oh, and off! Squilliam just goes a little bit wide. That's what happens when you're trailing another car quite so closely through these fast corners.
I tell you what, he hardly didn't lose any time at all there. He just kept his foot in it. It's like that old boy from NASCAR. He decided to, I'm sure you've seen that clip where he just put the car in the wall and hammered down and drove past people hitting the wall. Yes. And he said in his interview, he said, or on the radio right when he was doing it, he said, "I'm not lifting until I see the checkered flag or God."
Yeah, it's a pretty iconic quote, isn't it? As Squilliam looks to try and go around the outside of Black Bob through the Melbourne hairpin to give him the inside for the final corner. And it looks like the pass is going to be executed. He's going to give a lot of space on the outside. Now, Black Bob is still there. So 2 laps to go. The white flag is still being kept in hand by the starter for now because Squilliam is just about to make this pass around the outside through turn 1 again here. The two of them giving each other respectful room. And Black Bob eventually has to concede the position. That is Squilliam up to second. He's basically recovered all that he could after the incident, whatever it was, that saw him drop down the field earlier on to the lower part of the top 5. He's now recovered all those places and he's back to second again. The only position he's lost out on one now, of course, is to Nottavin, who looks like he's going to win this race.
Yeah, it's be a tough order to catch Nottavin at this point. It's a big gap, and Nottavin's really fast. So, I mean, Nottavin is still turning laps as fast or faster than Squilliam. So, but Squilliam is by Black Bob now. Let's see if he can close the distance because he probably was being held up a little bit.
Yeah, probably in the last couple of laps. The white flag will be readied now, by the way. There will be just 1 lap to go for our race leader very shortly. Where is the star? I can't see him at the moment. He's down towards the far end here, even though the finish line's quite far forward. The starter is only there, so the white flag should be now waving anyway. if my maths is correct. And Nottingham will be able to take home a victory. A pretty important win as well. The two of them separated in the championship by 26 points. And even at this early stage in the season, Nottingham will want, or at least in the first half, we're about to reach halfway after this round, he'll want to keep him in check here, Will Nottingham, on Squilliam. And so by winning this race, he will certainly help himself in staying close to the championship leader.
Yeah, he's back in a good spot. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited to see this next race when they invert this field and to see what happens here. Because there's some really good drivers that are going to be in front of them that are not that, they're not slow by any means.
We'll have a fantastic race to enjoy in a moment as we come corners right now. Now then, where is the race leader as they make their way towards the end of the race? There he is over the line. Nottingham completes the opening race in the lead. It is race victory for race 1 here at Donington Park for Nottingham, who capitalises from the mistake of Squilliam through the middle part of that race, who still recovered to second place himself to take that race win here at Donington Park. So opening race goes to him. Now we'll reverse the top 8 and we'll see how they get on. But it's Nottingham from Squilliam and Black Bob who's going to take a podium as well, just ahead of Nicoletta and Bozak after a pretty close fought battle. That was a good early success for Nottingham. Now we'll see what happens when we reverse the top 8 and we set them racing for 40 minutes instead. We will get the race results and of course a chat with Squilliam up when the time is right and when everybody has actually crossed the line, but obviously that hasn't happened just for the moment. So while we are waiting, we will go on and chat to Squilliam, I think, who is waiting in the interview room. We'll have a bit of a chat in between the races. Welcome in, Squilliam. Good to have you with us here after the opening race. Second place for you in that one, despite leading earlier on. Now, unfortunately, our racing was fighting with us while you were having your own problems as well. So what went on for you in that race?
Just had a little oopsie going on to the straight before the the chicane there, that uphill right-hander. Just got a little wide and tried to cut it in too hard and just lost the rear. And luckily I was able to pick it back up and get back past Nicoletta and Black Bob, but just a kind of silly mistake for me. So
how much of that would you say is a legacy of this circuit? Because it's not got tarmac runoff around it. It's traditional British circuit, I would like to say. And it looks like it's one that certainly punishes mistakes. Is it down to the circuit, would you say, or could you have made that mistake anywhere?
I think it's just that particular corner. I actually don't think I touched the grass. I think I was just trying to cut the car too hard, and the rear, after the first 10-ish laps, the rear kind of starts to get loose on you, and it gets a little harder to get traction and the hairpins and stuff like that. So I think it's just more the nature of the car and the rear tires starting to get worked in there.
Well, congratulations on recovering at least to second place, Squilliam. We look forward to seeing you again in race 2 in a few moments' time.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. That's Squilliam, who was second place behind Nottingham, who can also join us as well for a quick chat before we get going in race 2. Congratulations, Nottingham, on a race win. How does that feel to win that race, even though there was a mistake in front of you that allowed you to get the lead? You still had to do the business out front. How do you feel after the opening race?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I realized this was a pretty hard track to pass on when I was sitting behind him for a couple of laps, and the dirty air really does not help.
It is a difficult circuit to pass on, that's for sure. How is that going to play for the next race? Because in theory, you're going to have to make 7 overtakes in the next 40 minutes.
It'll be hard to say because I felt like Squilliam and I had pretty similar pace. He seemed like he had a little bit better pace on the top end of things, but once it all evened out, I thought we were pretty even. So when you have these other guys who might be a little bit slower, maybe we could make some moves. I don't know. We'll have to see.
We will have to see. Well, congratulations on winning race 1, Nottingham, and good luck for the second one coming up shortly.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Nottingham there in the first place for the opening race of the day, and it was a good drive from him as well, Jim. He drove that race well, and now he's got to do the business in race 2. Based on what he said there, though, he's going to find this second race pretty difficult, starting from 8th. Yeah, it is. There's not much to offer in the way of overtaking chances. You got the Melbourne hairpin, I would say, is the best, but other than that, could be quite tricky. There are 17 drivers in this field, though, so it's pretty busy. I was impressed, though, in the opening part of the opening race there that they got through so cleanly in that opening lap. And hopefully we can do it again now for race 2 coming up in a few moments' time. Hopefully they all get off to a pretty clean start. But yeah, it's a difficult circuit, as we've mentioned. Not much room for error around this circuit. Although, to be fair, Cunningham said that wasn't really down to the circuit, but it was just kind of an individual error that he made up at the top of the hill that meant he lost the lead eventually there. We've had our street calls for the season, by the way, at Chicago 2 weeks ago. Exactly what you'd expect. Yeah, I would imagine so. I would have thought it would be finished by now, actually, but we'll continue to hang on and wait here for a moment as the warm-up session continues, and the race will eventually get underway in a few minutes' time afterwards. Yeah, I would have thought it's it'd been and gone now, the warm-up session. Anyway,
Did it say did it say a 5-minute warm-up session, or?
I thought 5 minutes, but
You're making me nervous.
Like
you know that
I got 5 minutes since the race.
It has been. It's been 6 minutes right now, but it's counting down on the live timing, showing that it's still a warm-up session and it's 6 minutes in. So I'm going to believe that it's working, and I'm not going to let my PTSD get triggered from from all the problems that we had earlier.
Oh yeah, if we'll just keep an eye on the timing to show us when we'll be getting underway for this. Oh, there is someone working away on the circuit. Oh, would you believe it? Someone's come out to warm up.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Toilet. You just helped with my PTSD some. Yeah, I don't know who that is. I don't see him activated here.
At least nowhere.
Oh, it's Nicolator.
Connected. It is always interesting, these warm-up sessions between races. I do get why they're implemented. As a broadcaster, it makes things a little bit difficult sometimes, just to I mean, to watch along.
5 minutes is reasonable, right? I mean, that we can cover 5 minutes, but I've got some. There's a couple that do 15 minutes. That's a long time. We could we could record and play some kind of band concert or something for the 15 minutes, like a little intermission break.
A halftime show.
Racing highlights from the week or something. We could watch Liam Lawson getting replaced at Red Bull.
Don't want to make his day any worse.
I know, right? Did you hear that? Since we're waiting on this to finish, did you hear that he did not get notified by the team? He found out through a media source before the team even contacted him.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like, Daniel Ricciardo. They didn't even say goodbye to the guy or anything, Yeah, he didn't even find out from the team. He found out through a media source after 2 races.
Yeah,
that's got to be pretty depressing.
Yeah, but and if there's one organisation I wouldn't want to drive for in F1, to be honest, well, there's your answer. Based on that kind of thing.
So there's a theory out there right now. Since we got time, that Red Bull's car is not as good. It's obviously not as good as it used to be, right? But maybe it's worse than we even think, and Max is making it look good or decent because he's such a great driver. And people are struggling.
I think that's partly.
They're not as good a driver as him, so they can't drive the car. And all of a sudden, Checo went from running 5th, 6th, 7th to running 15th, 16th, 17th.
I think part of the problem for that is that the car is made with one driver in mind. And his name's not Sergio Perez.
It was not Sergio Perez. No. I mean, Max certainly likes the car his own way, and that's and you're going to clearly build the car for him. Sorry. You and I working together, we're talking. I'm talking over you constantly. I apologize for that.
Right, it's a delay as well, obviously, over the Atlantic, which is not helping. Or by all accounts, rather, I should say, he does like quite a sort of twitchy and snappy car as well, which if you don't like that sort of thing, then you could be stuck with a very unpleasant machine. If you are Max Verstappen's teammate. So that is a problem. If he wants to move into sort of endurance racing and sports car racing, as I suspect he actually does, because of what he actually does in iRacing here.
Yes.
Obviously, many people here will have watched him racing in iRacing, does a lot of the special events, did the Daytona 24 Hours, for example, did the IMSA Esports Series at the end of last year. He's done all sorts in iRacing. It is... going to be a problem for him if he moves into sports car racing in real life. If he wants the cars to be set up very different to everybody else.
Yeah, yes, definitely. We'll see how that goes. So let's see here. I believe we have a grid. Let's see if we do.
We should get the grid, and here we go. Ryan Schwab will be on the pole with AJ alongside, having dropped down quite late on in that race. And we'll be interested to see what he can do. Edmundust and Bozak will be on row 2. Ed Nicolator, who we just saw out there in the warm-up, and Black Bob in 6th. Squilliam and Notvin are on the next row ahead of DC and Biker Pilot. Gavin Amman and Yomega are on row 6. And we'll have to clip through the rest and let the rest scroll through your screen, because the lights will be coming on very shortly for this race. And the second race of round 4 here at Donington Park is going to be getting underway very, very shortly indeed, with Schwab looking up towards the light for when they're going to come on here in a few moments, and trying to get that best reaction. Here we go. Lights are out and we're racing here again at Donington Park for the reverse grid race in the sprint series. Down in towards turn 1 they go, and Schwab has held the inside line for now. Outside line currently being held, and looks like indeed the lead being held by AJ, who works his way right around the outside for the first time. Down the crane of curves they go, and in towards the old hairpin. This is where things get difficult. Let's hope they all get through cleanly. A bit of side-by-side in the back of the pack here. As the battle for 4 play goes side-by-side, there's a spinner, and there's an accident in the background. There's contact just under the bridge, just off the old hairpin. There is contact on lap 1.
Wow. Yes, there was contact, and Nicolator is all the way up into 2nd place already. And Squilliam is up to 3rd.
Wow! Big crash in the background. Somebody's up and over onto their roof.
Oh, my
goodness.
It
was 3 wide in towards turn 8. and you can see the results in the background. Somebody went flipping over onto their roof. Somebody's lost a rear wing in the background as well. And we've got a real battle for the lead here. AJ, I think that is having to defend from Nicolator for the lead. It's all getting very close here on lap 1 already, that some of these leaders have found themselves fighting for the lead at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, we'll go back and take a look at that replay in just a second. We got such good action up here at the front. I don't want to miss a pass for the lead.
Not into turn 1. Nicolator not able to get down the inside this time round. I think that's Squilliam in third, isn't it?
It is, yes.
In the one, yeah. So he's made an unbelievable start. He's up 4 places, is it, early on. Nottavin's up 3, so he's done all right, but I think he was rather caught behind all of the silliness that was going on in the opening lap. So Beaver is out of the race. He seems to have left the session completely. Bozak, and sorry, it's not AJ leading the race. It's Etmidust. I should have corrected that. AJ is in the pit lane now. Bozak as well. Meyer and DC as well. That is a lot of drivers. At least in pit lane after the first lap of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's see if we can get some of that, what happened. There was so much that happened right there together.
That Bob was just in front of it. He went wide. He actually went backwards off the start, which is pretty rare to see for a driver who was on the podium in the last race, going backwards. But then he was involved in... Now, did he get... so we're going to see it in front here.
Oh, there we go.
There's through the old hairpin. Here we go. So that's Beaver, and he gets hit there by... So he's lost his rear wing. I think Beaver might have even had to tow back. Yeah, he couldn't actually drive anymore. He's out the race. Beaver's out the race now.
All right, let's see here. I think he... All right, this was right after that. All right. And
So it's Meyer who hit him.
And then G-Spot got off the track here.
Yeah. Was sort of threw himself off the road almost in avoidance, I think, of the crash that was happening. Or Beaver just up in front. Now, that's Ammerman's view of what happened. He did very well to slip through, actually, on the inside there. Somebody absolutely flying through the air. It might have been DC who flipped through the air there. Oh, no, probably not, actually. So I think I've got that wrong. But it was 3 wide at turn 8.
It probably was DC. Okay. The problem is none of these are marking as an incident for some reason.
Here we go. To be it. Oh, so DC was involved in the contact. He didn't go up onto his roof. He did make the contact, though. He was involved in the contact. His front left corner, by the way, is absolutely toasted. He's had to go back to pit lane and tow back rather than drive back, which is always going to cost you a lot more time than driving back. But anyway, meanwhile, while we've been away, Squilliam has had to come into pit lane. And there he is coming out right in front of the leaders. Etmidust is ahead of Nicolator still, who just set the best lap of the race overall. But Squilliam was threatening these guys for the top 2 positions. He's had to pit in, though, only, 5 minutes into this race or so.
5 minutes.
And suddenly he's way down the back of the pack.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if he was caught up in something. There was so much. Let me see. I'm looking real quick to see if I see his name anywhere. Let's take a look at this real quick. I don't know if this was a problem or...
And it might be. Here we go. Just a bit of running wide there. So,
well, he's got a few of those right back to back. So there it is.
Oh, and there it is. Oh, it's pretty big contact with the wall as well for Squilliam, who's reversed. And I think he's trying to get it in pit lane from here, but he's going to really struggle to do that.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. How is that even possible?
Golly. Oh, man. Wow. He going so fast in reverse, he flipped the car. Man, look at the brakes on Nicolator's car lighting up in these turns. He must be smoking these brakes right now.
Yeah,
Eat My Dust is running a good race, man. Nicolator's fast. And Eat My Dust is holding him off.
Right now is holding the lead of this race. 3 seconds back to Notovin, who's up to 3rd place now, so he'll be coming pretty quick. And there are 35 minutes still to go, which is the real advantage. Both of them run slightly wide through the old hairpin here. You can see the pressure already onto these top 2. Even though we're really early on in this race, you can see the pressure absolutely in the way these 2 are driving over the top at turn 8. Just will hold the lead ahead of Nicolator, and then Notovin just under 3 seconds behind. Yeah, as you say, it is a good race at the moment from Edmundus, because he is holding off Nicolator, who you would have said at the start of the day maybe a bit quicker than him.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, it looks like Nicolator's trying. He's trying different angles. Yeah. We saw his brakes glowing red, so that means, you know, he's hot. That's got his brakes hot. That's got his tires hot. And he is, I mean, he's grinding on that car right now.
He is, he's pushing, although, you know, you do expect the high brake temperatures through the final sector at least. A pretty big stop for the fast chicane. Even bigger one at the deceptively downhill Melbourne hairpin. It's pretty steep, even though it doesn't look like it. And then the final corner as well, where you're going downhill again after going over the right. So it's certainly one where the temperatures will be getting up. Shouldn't be a big concern, though, in these cars. They're actually very light cars, these F3s. So the braking force required in relative terms. Well, for these cars, it looks pretty massive. It's, in relative terms, in the grand scheme of things, not actually a huge force going through these brakes, especially when you consider them to sort of heavier sports cars in Formula 1 cars these days. A lot heavier than these smaller machines. So old indeed, you can see they haven't even got the halo on them, which does already make it feel slightly dated, I've got to say.
I wonder if the brakes are dated as well, though. You know, that's basing it, they're light based on by today's standard of brakes. But if this car is still running with the brakes that they were running, I guess 10 years ago or so when this car was really popular, you know, if it's got old brakes on it, they may not have as much stopping power as the more modern brakes do today.
Yeah, I'm just Googling when this car was released, actually, by the way, because it's, I think it was about 2018. It's quite a long time ago now in the grand scheme of things, but it's been a real fixture in our racing since. As you mentioned, though, earlier, overtaken a little bit by the Super Formula Lights. And I think to the untrained eye, if you're looking at these 2 open-wheel cars, especially if you're not an open-wheel fan particularly, and you see, well, what's the difference, really? But there is certainly a difference in the way that these cars drive, and it's good, actually, that the Formula 3 is getting a run out here. And Eberdus certainly giving Nicolator the run around. He's got nearly a second's worth of a lead now, just under 9 minutes gone into this race.
I mean, that's a byproduct of how hard Nicolator was driving. We talked about his brakes glowing. That means they were really hot. That raises your tire temperature, your core temperatures on your tires, and these cars are very tire sensitive, by the way. You know, he's got his core temperatures up, and those front tires just start sliding. And the only way to stop that is to stop driving the car so hard and give him a lap or so to cool down. And he's got plenty of time. Just stay in touch, get your tires back under you. I'm sure no one's going to take tires on the pit stop, you know, so at this point, you just cool your tires off and make another run at him later in the race. You know, what's also surprising though, Donovan's not exactly running them down, which is another sign that Nicolator and Eat My Dust and Nicolator are really going, because Donovan's fast and he's not really closing the gap yet.
That's a good point. 2.3 seconds between Nicolator and Notovin now. With still half an hour to go, admittedly. That's a long way to go, but for him not really to be laying a glove on these front 2 is very telling as to how quick the front 2 actually are. And, well, the answer looks to be at the moment very quick in the feature race. Not that they weren't in the first, but I guess they might have been caught up in traffic a little bit along the way as well. So we'll continue to monitor that as Notovin tries to close in on these guys. Further behind, Schwab, who started this race from pole, is down to 7th here, and is now defending from Biker Pilot and Omega, who we haven't seen very much of here today. That's As I say, fight for 7th place. It's the biggest group on the circuit, actually. Ammerman and Sneezy Jr. are quite close for 5th as well. They're just a bit further on up the road because Schwab's not actually that far away from them. So this is where the battling is, really. I know that the race for the front is a very interesting one, but this is where it's all pretty close in the group for 5th place on backwards.
Yeah, this is definitely the exciting racing right now. It seems like those front guys have kind of established a pace and a distance, and they're going to, you know, probably ride there for a little while, not use their stuff up this early in the race. So yeah, we'll take a look at some of these battles going on back here. Now I don't know any.
Goes very wide and.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I don't know anything about Omega here, but he seems to be up 3 spots. Seems to be running good pace. Good looking line. Like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but that's a good looking car, actually. I like that car.
Just up in front, Schwab and Biker Pilot. We'll get to that in a second. Biker Pilot and Schwab going side by side now in towards McLean's and through for Biker Pilot.
Oh,
those two
yes.
are teammates by the looks of it, so that might have been quite nice between the two. But Schwab won't have been planning for Omega to follow through as well. Have a look at that. The pole sitter dropping down actually now below where he finished in the first race. In towards the chicane, and Omega breaks later to get through into 8th place. Currently 8th place in the championship, by the way, Omega. He has been all the rounds so far in this sprint series. And not finished inside the top 5 yet, and that might not change today, but he has moved up to 8th place. A pretty smart pass on Ryan Schwab there.
Yeah, that was a great pass. Textbook. And, you know, I think Schwab, kind of like you said, left that door open for Biker Pilot, maybe possibly let him go because he was a little faster. And I think he didn't close it quick enough, and Omega took advantage of that.
Yeah, certainly did. Moves up to 8th position. This is, as I say, where the battling really is. The leader will of course, notify you when the leaders are getting close, but for now they are not really. The pit stop window, as far as the information we've been given, is now open, by the way. We should be getting 18 to 19 laps out the tank, so you should be fine to run for a lot longer yet. But if you want to pit in early and get to the end, then you can do it now. The reason I bring that up, by the way, is because that means Squilliam, in effect, hasn't made his mandatory pit stop for the day either.
Right.
We saw his incident spinning out the final corner and having a right palaver trying to get into pit lane. And he's had to tow back, do a fast repair and come back out again. But he hasn't taken his mandatory stop. Well, it's not mandatory, but you'll need to take the fuel. He's not taken the fuel required that he's going to need to finish this race. So even though he's setting fastest laps, as he just did there, he is 13th legitimately, while everyone still needs to stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to have a shorter pit stop when he needs to do it, just maybe a splash and go, because more than likely he probably took tires, maybe not, but maybe he did. So he may have a little fresher rubber and also, you know, certainly a little bit more gas than those guys do. I'm not sure. Do you know what lap his incident was on?
Williams?
Yes.
I think 3, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was right at the end of one of the laps. It was really early on. It was somewhere around there. But yeah, he fortunately is a long way back now as a result of all of that. As we go back to the midfield, where the action very much is still, although it is stretching out a little bit now. Omega behind Biker Pilot is the closest, and that is about 3/4 of a second. Nottingham is closing in to Nicolator. It has taken him quite a while, but with 15 minutes gone nearly in the race, he's right there now, and he'll be applying that pressure. Second position.
Indeed, he will. And I don't know how much you guys follow old NASCAR and stuff. I think I made a joke one time, and I'm not sure if you got it or not, but it was referring to Dale Earnhardt Sr. when he was driving. He was known as the Intimidator, and people said when you saw his car come up behind you, you knew that he was going to race you hard, and if you didn't move, he was going to move you, and he was just a very intimidating presence. I got to believe that Nottingham has that same presence. When you're out there running laps, even Nicolator, and you see Nottingham just closing on you a second a lap or whatever, it's, you know, the crazy amount of time he's picking up. You just got to get intimidated, which ultimately it makes it so easy for you to make a mistake because you're thinking about what he's doing.
I'm a bit of a retro NASCAR enjoyer, by the way.
There you go.
Person.
So you know what I'm talking about then. You know that reputation he had.
Yeah.
And I got to
Exactly.
believe that Donovan's got that, because I know at Chicago, he certainly became intimidating the way he was running people down.
And well, there's the mistake as well. There's the intimidation at work as Nicoletta just went a little bit sideways out of the Melbourne hairpin. He'll hold on for the final turn, but again he misses the apex there. He'll get a good run off of the turn as a result of that, though. If you grab a late apex there, he should be fine. The slipstream, though, might be his downfall. Notovin gets right into it. Is he close enough for a dive at turn 1? He might have been. If it was the last lap, he probably would have done it. But since we got over 20 minutes to go, Notovin is going to bide his time here. And now the difficulties of overtaking are really going to become very obvious, I think.
I think that Notovin right now is perfect. Oh, he ran it off track right there. That Notovin is probably fine right now where he's at. He's comfortable there. He doesn't need to pass, Nicolator at this point. He will if he gets the opportunity, but I don't think he's going to risk his car in any way, shape, or form, because I think he knows that he's pressing him hard and people make mistakes when he's behind him. And again, he could get this pass done without doing anything if there's another mistake. And at that point, he's better off than nice little dive right here coming in. Nope.
Oh, close. He got a really good run actually off the chicane.
He did.
So I thought he'd have a much better chance actually than he ended up having. Now into the final turn, he's looking again and just getting in the mirrors. Trying to get in the head of Nicoletta, but unlike last lap, he grabbed the apex really well there, Nicoletta, and he will hold on in towards turn 1 as well. So this is what Notovin was talking about, but he's certainly seen signs there, I think, of where he can make the overtake. He was much quicker through the chicane, and that meant he got a run into the slowest corner on the circuit, the Melbourne hairpin. If he can replicate that on this lap, then he might have a chance of firing down the inside.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's at this point, he's probably feeling out, trying to see where he feels like he can make the move without any risk. It's interesting. He's putting his car in different weird angles, like to, make sure that he appears in Nicolator's mirrors. And all of those, Nicolator is never going to know when he's actually going to make a dive or not. And it's just making him probably even a little more uncomfortable. We say I'm not going to say nervous or whatever, but just uncomfortable.
It will be for the moment. There's that chicane I was talking about. Not the run that he needed that time though for Notovin. Oh, but Nicolator's got to slow down, has he? He's slowing on the inside of the corner. Now he'll brake late to defend the place. Oh, he's gotten away with one big time there, because Notovin got a terrible run by his own accord. Nicoletta cut the corner and so had to slow down on the exit. Both of them lose a second to Edmundust, who's now 2 seconds in front in the lead. His lead has been doubled effectively in that one moment. And somehow Notovin wasn't able to take advantage of the best chance he could ever have dreamed of.
Right, he got a free opportunity and didn't take advantage of it at all. What's funny is Eat My Dust is up there looking back in his mirror and go, you guys have at it. I'm going to just keep going here. I mean, these two guys are running each other hard, really running hard.
Yeah, they are. This is a good battle for second place between these two. Now up in towards McLean's. Maybe Notovin's going to go here. Down the inside. Brave place to do it, but no. It's not quite a straight-on braking zone there, and so it's sort of weaving through the corners, braking while turning and doing all that complicated stuff on your own. You've also got to worry about someone alongside you. That can get very difficult, and so that's why Notovin wasn't 100% committed to that move that time around. Now then, what's going to happen this time into the chicane? Look at the way that they're all getting in each other's mirrors and weaving on the straight here. That's much better from Nicoletta, but way better from Notovin as well. If he'd have done that last lap, he would have been through easily. In towards the Melbourne hairpin. Is he going to dive? No, although he broke late enough so that he could have done, actually, in towards the corner. What about the run off the corner? Is it good enough for a move at the final turn? He's closing in again. Again, he's weaving around in the mirrors. Again, he can't make the overtake as we cross over the halfway mark of this race. 15 laps gone. Probably going to have another 15 laps, at least 14 laps still remain in this race. A very long way to go, especially if you're Nicolator here and you're trying to hold off Notvin, who's now going for it finally in towards turn 1. He'll try and get the exit though, Nicolator. That's a pretty good line from him, considering he's been overtaken there down the inside. He's just gone for the late apex and the run down the credit curve, so effectively flat out here. Think of it as a straight, really, with some bends in it. Down in towards the old hairpin. He rips around the outside, Notvin. That was commitment. Bravery as well, because Nicolator still had his nose down the inside there at a point, but Notvin took the apex, and he's taken second place finally now as well.
Yeah, he, like I said, he missed a couple opportunities there, and he was playing around with showing him his nose and trying to figure, but yeah, that was an impressive pass. He did it. He held it through a high-speed part of the course that's not really traditionally run side by side, and they did. They did a good job.
Well, what a great battle between the two of them for that second position. Sadly, it is over for now. I suspect, though, when Notvin and Enquires start to fight, then maybe Nicolator will get back into the battle all over again. But it's going to take some time for Notvin to actually close in on Enquires again. We'll see what the lap times are this time round. You can already see that Enquires is weaving around and looking in his mirrors too much, arguably, because he's weaving around on the straight already. 22.1 from him last time round. That was 8 tenths slower than Notvin, who actually had to make an overtake on that last lap. So that's a real big time loss for the race leader.
I really believe he had been sitting there watching those guys in his mirror to some point, and I think that has been affecting his lap times. And at this point, he needs to just put his head down and go. But we should have, pit window's open. I'm wondering if somebody's going to attempt an undercut or, what's going on. Speaking of undercuts, I'm looking back here at Squilliam. He's not really improving any. He's still, it looks like, I don't know, maybe like his car isn't even fixed,
He's catching Bozak at least. He's not gained any places yet, though. Although I'm not sure if Bozak has pitted yet. Maybe he's pitted, which is why the gap's down at 9 seconds. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that Squilliam still has to make his final pit stop, and so do most of the field. In fact,
yes.
Only seen the Omega in so far, but I've not been watching pit lane the whole time to see who's been coming in and when. And here we go, the leader. That had to be a pit stop because it was a really tight line. So strange thing for the leader to do, a little bit against the normal playbook, because he saw the faster driver coming up behind him, decided to stay tight out the final turn and come into pit lane instead of letting the second place driver work their way past him. He's tried to sort of double bluff, if you like, and come in before Notvin does.
That's an interesting strategy. I think that most people would say maybe not a wise one, for several different factors, but maybe he felt like that was he was fixing to get into a battle and just slow himself up. If he does it this way, maybe he'd get back out there and turn some fast laps and hold his own that way. We'll see. Is he out of the pits yet? No. He's having a long pit stop, too.
Isn't he? I think he's out.
He might be out of the pits.
Sorry.
No, you're right. He might be out of the pits. I'm sorry.
Just is out the pit lane. Pebble and Meyer are still in pit lane, and they have been there for a little while. I don't think it's any too much of a concern at the moment. A couple of laps left, by the way, on these fuel tanks, if our numbers are to be believed, and there's no reason why we can't, as Nicolator also comes into pit lane. We were expecting 28 minutes at most, so we're nearly 25 minutes in. That's about 2 laps away now.
So
Notvin might want to take those 2 laps, but we will see. And let's see when Nicolator comes out in relation to Enquires as well, because that's going to be very telling as to what their pit stop times have been like. Nicolator is already out or at least exiting the pit lane. He's already rolling down to the end here, and in behind one of the lap cars, he is going to jump Enquires. Well, if Nicolator is anything to go by there, then Notvin may well be our race leader at the end of this pit stop cycle, because Enquires has already lost a place to the driver who was a couple of positions behind him, not even directly behind.
Yeah, he might just had a slow pit stop. It was 29 seconds. And Nicolator he was a second and a half faster on his pit stop. That pass was strictly made on time in and out of pit road, So again, it'll be interesting to see. The benefit Donovan's going to have is he's going to have to put in 1 or 2 laps less fuel because he's extending this. So when he pits, he's going to be faster. His pit stop's going to be faster, which we're going to see right here.
At the very least, he's going to have been faster on those in laps because he was lighter on fuel.
Right.
As Black Bob comes into pit lane as well. Ammerman is, that's not Ammerman. We'll see if he carries on and he's going to lead a lap here. Nottingham already rolling though. There he is on the exit. Ammerman's not going to lead a lap. We have reached the limit now at the end of lap 19. Here comes Nottingham. This is going to be a big race lead surely. Where is Nicola? He's nowhere to be seen. Nottingham is going to lead this race by some margin. His pit stop way more efficient than any of the others, and he's going to lead this race by a pretty comfortable margin.
Indeed, yeah, that was that was impressive. Again, though, he had to take less fuel. He needed 2 laps less fuel to finish this race. That's huge. That's a huge amount of time. That's a second or more easily. So, it worked out well for him, which is the strategy I would have thought that Eat My Dust would have done if he was able to. The problem was Donovan stayed behind Nicolator so long using that draft that he ultimately was probably able to save a lap of fuel in that process because he ran behind Nicolator for, 8-10 laps or whatever it was, right in his draft. So he was saving fuel that whole time.
And Nicolette is on the defensive, by the way, in towards the Melbourne hairpin, just in the background there. Edmund just round the outside, and he's going to stay there. If you can stay there, it gets you the inside for the final turn. And that could put Nicolette in second place at real danger here. Edmund just goes down the inside and goes through, although Nicolette is going to go for the cutback. It's not quite the exit he needed. He had the right line, but he didn't have the power on the exit. And so this is going to be difficult for him to get back past. And the damage is undone, or at least half of it is. Edmund just goes through, and Nicolette down to third. They're all in behind, not in by some margin, but that's impressive for the former race leader, Edmund, just to get back ahead and back into second place, which he's going to now desperately want to hold on to the very end of this race.
Yes, definitely. And by the way, that livery is fantastic. Just thought I would throw that in there. I think he did a fine job there. Great job. To be honest, I was about to say, I was waiting when you were going to stop. I was going to jump in and say that, Donovan's going to love this because these two are going to fight for a lap or two. But there's no fight. Eat My Dust went around him, and it's almost put a second between them already. So, he's clearly really fast.
Yeah. It makes you wonder a little bit what was happening in race 1 to him, really. It's, he didn't finish up towards the front particularly in race 1 compared to what he's doing now in terms of speed, which is
yes,
puzzling me a bit. But,
you wonder if there's some sandbagging sometimes to make sure that they're closer to the front for the feature race. I've always wondered about that. I love inverting the field, but it always leaves that question to be asked. The first race is not as important. It's not as many points. Do you sandbag a little bit and say where you can be 4 or 5 spots ahead of somebody else? I don't know. Conspiracy theory, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit of a conspiracy theory. We'll have to ask him afterwards if he comes up to chat.
I'm an American, that's we live in the conspiracy theory world over here.
Well, I've never been, but
you've never been to America?
There we go. Oh, no, definitely not. No,
definitely not. Like you don't want to come at all. I have no interest whatsoever to go to America.
I do have a bit of an interest, I'd say, but it's not a burning. I don't feel I have to come this summer, otherwise,
right.
My life will be over. It's
no.
There we go. Anyway, the gap came down to 2 seconds, by the way. It's at least there for Edmund. We'll see if he can actually get a bit close to this race lead, although it could be tricky. Nicoletta certainly isn't getting any closer to him as they navigate a bit of lap traffic there. Further back, Schwab has now caught up to G-Spot, who's actually recovering effectively from race one incident, if you remember. going to the inside of turn 8 on the opening lap. We saw the contact made. I can't remember who he was with now, to be honest with you, but there was definitely contact made, and now he's inside the top 10 is G-Spot, just up ahead. Omega and Sneezy Jr. as well, battling away. So a couple of gaps less than a second, but no real burning battle. Certainly not like what we were having early on in the race between the top 3 in this field.
Yeah, I just decided to put this chopper view on to kind of show the distance between the top 3 there. You can obviously see Donovan and Eat My Dust running off in the front there, and you can see they're spread out a little bit. You know, they're all in their own comfortable little space right there. And they've all made pit stops, so at this point, you know, you're going to have to close this gap some other way than a pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Although Eat My Dust is slowly creeping into Donovan's lead that he had. Well, I say that. He didn't get out of that chicane very, very well. But, yeah, I think, you know, those guys are spread out pretty good. Let's go back here and take a look at what's going on here.
This is 7th place. Omega actually up 1 from before the pit stops, although we last checked in with him about 20 minutes ago, so it might well just been a normal overtake. But Sneezy Jr. is trying to undo that and put him back to effectively where he is in the championship, Omega, which is 8th place in the field. For his part, Sneezy Jr. is further down from what I can see. He's only 22nd, but this is only his 2nd appearance this season in a round. He's only been at 1 other. That's 2 starts to his name, obviously, 2 races per night. They go down towards turn number 1. He's applying the pressure pretty well here. And this is by far the closest battle on the circuit, although it's going to be ruined. Omega goes wide. Sneezy Jr. actually missed the apex himself there, but Omega went completely off the circuit.
Yeah, I think Sneezy Jr. was thinking about following him off track there for a second. But, yeah, that was a position he didn't have to work too hard to get there. You know, with Omega making a mistake when he got behind him. Again, that can happen if you start looking behind you. I just noticed something here. It's probably not anything major. He's had a couple off tracks, but this is Pebble. Apparently ran into a little incident.
I've also seen Black Bob also, if we can take a look at that as well. That's Pebble going very wide at the Melbourne hairpin, missing the braking zone and missing the apex slightly. And they're at the corner, at the circuit's slowest corner. Further around the, early on in the lap rather, over the top of the hill, Black Bob was off the circuit. So I wonder whether anything did go on, or if it's anything other than this. Running a bit wide through turn number 1, back on again. He's still running 4th, by the way. It didn't cost him any play, but he has been off the circuit.
Software, something else. It called the Pebble thing a crash. But yet all the crashes we had did not mark as crashes tonight. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it is. All right, let's see. I'm trying to find us a... Man, I tell you what, everybody is just kind of gapped out right now.
Yep, and that's what you expect after 34 minutes of racing, I suppose. It's the long feature race in the J2iCS Sprint Series, the F3 Championship here on Wednesday nights. Intertwined with this is the endurance season that also goes on. We'll be back with that next week before we're back with another round of this series from Mazzano on the, on the 9th of April, that is going to be. And by the way, at the end of this race, we'll be crossing the halfway point on our season. And what a great way to mark that occasion with Donovan here. He has gained points no end on his main championship rival, Squilliam, here tonight. Gaining on him in the first race, although they were 1st and 2nd, so there won't be too much of a gain there. But this is where the points to be gained. A big feature race win coming through from 8th place, and his main rival outside of the top 10, which doesn't happen very often.
No, that's no, he doesn't. It doesn't happen at all that often. To be honest, I'm really surprised that Squilliam hasn't recovered a little better. I get it and everything, but you know, he's fast. I mean, I would have thought he would have overtaken some of these cars. I just almost got to feel like he's got a little damage, and he's just getting by, just trying to finish the race at this point.
I think he he lose so much time towing the car, which is what he had to do, of course, because a tyre wall effectively grabbed his car and put it back the wrong way. If it was sort of a giant walking onto the circuit and just pulling him upside down. He's been setting fastest laps of the race as well. He's just set another one there. I'm not sure it's the speed. I think he's just started so far behind that anyone who's not had a problem is going to finish ahead of him here. Pebble and Meyer, we know have had problems, and we've got 3 retirements as well, if you've probably noticed. AJ Beaver and DC all out of the race, but Cunningham can't really do very much in the way of overtaking because he's started with such a disadvantage compared to the others. I think that's what's gone on there. Change for 7th, by the way. It looks like Stacey Jr. got back past Omega again there after maybe a mistake. Although I'm not sure. Or maybe it was Schwab getting past G-Spot, I don't know. But they're the closest battles anyway. There it is, onto the front straight. Stacey Jr. and Omega. And Stacey Jr. holding on to that 7th place at the moment, as we have just 3.5 minutes to go.
So let's see. There was this.
A bit wide. Yeah, it's already ahead there, Stacey Jr.
Yeah.
So I think it was Schwab and G-Spot, and I was seeing things slightly wrong there in the battle for 7th place, or the battle for 9th, as it is in the race. There's the answer.
And he hit
Wow.
him. Oh my goodness.
He did.
What a bad, I mean, you know, hold your brakes, all that stuff. He just started to move forward, and Schwab clipped that front tire, front wing area with his left rear. I'll learn my right and left before I get out of kindergarten, I'm sure. Hope he didn't get any damage from that. That's unfortunate. Look at that. Golly, man, that's tough right there. And he did a good job. If you go back and look at that, he did a good job.
Oh, no, sorry, it's a drive-through for the incident limit. It's not damage. It's a drive-through.
Okay, well. All right, well.
Going to cost him the place he won. So there's the spin itself from G-Spot. And yeah, he shouldn't be moving like that, really, should he? He shouldn't be moving up. When there's somebody coming like that, should stay where you are.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not the worst, most egregious error ever, but, you know, I'm sure it's frustration. He's trying to get the car back going. You know, it's a bad situation. But it really did cost Schwab there. People might argue that, well, hey, he shouldn't be on the incident limit, so, you know, he wouldn't have had to do that. But yeah, I think that's still a tough break to catch.
I think you can have both sides of that, to be honest. You know.
Yeah, sure.
You can't particularly blame G-Spot that he's gone over the incident limit because you're right. It being that close, you're always running that risk. But you also can't excuse the rejoin there. That when a car is coming like that, you can't really be moving off in the way of them, and that's a bit unfortunate. Bozak has gained 2 places as a result. So G-Spot has dropped behind Bozak, Schwab as well, who has re-emerged from his drive-through. And Squilliam, actually, who's gained a place. He's now 11th. And look at him, he's only 3.5 seconds behind. There is only a minute to go, though, and that means we're pretty close to the end of the race, and Squilliam might well run out of time to get back in the top 10.
I have to tell you, the last 20 minutes of that race flew by. Which is weird, because usually that's the part where it slows down for, as a broadcaster. But, wow, okay. It's been a good race. We had a lot of battles there mid-race for the lead and, first and second and third, and the pit stops. It's been fantastic. But I think, at this point we're short of an incident. I think everything's pretty settled out here with the exception of, let's see, has he taken the white flag, or do we not?
I'm just trying to work it out. It's very close. The time's ticking down. He's going to get one more.
One more, okay.
Now the white flag waits.
So we got this battle. I didn't want to cut to it if that was him.
Oh, hello. Hammerman and Biker Pilot here towards the Melbourne hairpin. And that is a pass, actually, from Biker Pilot, because Hammerman's been running inside the top 5, been running in that 5th place. And, he's got through, but only briefly. Hammerman's on the inside at the final corner, and he has had to come into pit lane. Oh.
What in the world?
Well, that's that.
Drive through? Nope, he's pitting.
I think he's under fuel.
Yeah, he must have. Wow.
He must have just not enough fuel on board, which is a real shame. And there you go. There's your one lap of fuel, and he's back out again. Schwab and Bozak will continue on. Bozak's gained a boatload of places because of other people's incidents today.
He has.
Up to ninth, and Scully will be frustrated that he hasn't gained quite as many from other people's incidents as well. But they're not far in front of Nottavin right now, and indeed in comes Bozak. So Squilliam is going to get that top 10 after all. In the lower end of the field. We'll go through that a bit later, but out front, Nottavin has had a fantastic day. It's going to be a double victory with his closest championship rival struggling to score the points to match him, and that 26-point deficit he had at the start of the day is going to be wiped away in significant proportions tonight. Donington Park is owned by Nottavin tonight in the J2iCS Sprint Series in the F3 car. It's Nottavin who takes the victory. And just out the pit lane there, Bozak, by the way, he will be 11th place. So Squilliam will be up inside the top 10. And that means Nottavin will gain a whole load of points on his main championship rival.
Yeah, he did. I mean, Squilliam did make up a couple of 3 places there. So at the towards the end of the race to help his cause a little bit. But yeah, he definitely did not, did not have the best day for sure.
Watch some of these battles towards the back end come across the line. Schwab has now seen off Bozak, of course, because of that pit stop. And he's just about 2 seconds ahead of Squilliam, a second and a half. It's getting pretty close into the final corner. But there's your margin. It looks like Schwab is just going to hang on, and there you go. Squilliam confirmed, finishing in 10th place. Cameron Hammond looks like he's crawling over the line.
I think he
lost. And then run out of fuel on the line again.
He did. Oh, man. At least he didn't lose another spot, but yeah, he ran out of gas again. Oh, there's a part of that that's humorous to me, but I feel bad for him because he had a nice little run going there, and he could have been, where was he at? 6th, something like that when he had to pit. 5th, yeah, 5th. So that's unfortunate for him, and I'm sure he'll be upset about that. And there we go.
Oh, ouch.
I love it when they do that stuff. It's so good. All right, let's see. Do we have results up? Let's see.
Well, everyone's crossed the line, so let's hope that the software is going to produce some results for us. And here we go. Nottavin does indeed take that race victory. Gap of the line officially 4 seconds to Itmadust, who gets second. And I reckon he'll be pretty pleased with this afternoon, regardless. Nicoletta joins them on the podium with Black Bob and Biker Pilot rounding out the top 5. Sneezy Jr. just outside of it with the Omega a few seconds further back. Ammerman just crawling over the finish line at the end there, needing a bit more fuel, finished in 8th place. Schwab and Squilliam rounding out the top 10. Bozak, last driver on the lead lap, actually came out the pit lane behind the leaders who had taken the checker flag, which is a bit weird, but he ends up on the lead lap. But G-Spot and Pebble did not. Meyer could finish the race but was 2 laps down. And then a number of retirements, including AJ, Beaver and DC down at the back end of the field. So then, let's have a quick chat then, shall we, to the podium drivers, starting with Nottavin again for the second time tonight. We'll have a chat, and indeed, second time tonight, Nottavin, you've taken a race win. Congratulations on that. Just tell us first of all about that pit stop phase, which eventually saw you come out in the lead of the race, from which you didn't look back.
Yeah, it was a pit stop, I guess. I think Eat My Dust didn't practice his pit stop, and it was a little bit slow, but either way it worked out for me because I think I would have had him regardless. So.
And what does this mean as well? I know you won't like to see your championship rivals having incidents of falling by the wayside as a result, but what does this mean for the season now that you've taken a big chunk of points back off Squilliam today? Second place he was to you in the first, but only 10th place in this second race. Surely this means a lot for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it, it's like, oh wow, that's a 10 position point difference, but in this series I find the point differences aren't too much. So like it'll be like, oh yeah, he'll be like right on him after they calculate the points, and it's still like 20 points off. But it's definitely nice to finally get a nice weekend out of it, because typically it's you do good in one race and then not so good in the other. So it's nice to finally get 2 good races.
Yeah, you
combined. You finished.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No. I was just gonna say hello to Nottavin. Since I don't do many of these sprint races, but I've done the majority of the endurance stuff. It's good to see you running up front over here. seems like you have a decent handle on both of these cars. This one and the endurance that we'll be seeing next week.
Yeah, it's typically I start off slow because I don't usually drive these types of cars, but seem to finally from last season we did the SFLs, and that seems to be helping a little bit with this car. This car is I like it a little bit more because you're not just full throttle everywhere. It's kind of stupid how that is in the SFLs, but whatever. And then
Yeah.
just in the GTPs, I don't drive those cars, period. So yeah, it's definitely a learning experience, but it's nice to get a grasp on it nice and early in the season, because usually it's reversed for me. I'm really bad at the beginning, and then halfway through the season, that's when I get good.
Well, like you said, a lot of people don't realize, this car was kind of replaced by the Super Formula Lights car, at least in iRacing, for popularity and stuff like that. But this car is significantly harder to drive, as you were talking about, than the Super Formula Lights cars. And as a competitor and as a fast race driver, you got to like the car being tougher to drive, because I think it gives the better drivers a bigger advantage.
Maybe. I just thought the SFLs had no power. It's like you got on the gas and you went nowhere. So this car's a little nice if you're not careful. It'll step out on you.
Which is fun.
I certainly get what you mean about. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I certainly get what you mean about the lack of power in the Super Formula Lights. That is very apparent. I've got to say, even when you're watching them. Is there anyone, before we let you go, you'd like to give a shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, it's always got to be my teammate. He had a tough race out there tonight, even though all the mistakes maybe weren't his fault. But definitely he had a rough go at it. But hopefully he can come back a little bit stronger in the next coming races. And yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to him.
Yeah, teammate being Bozak, of course, for those that don't know. Congratulations on the double win here tonight, Donovan, and we'll see you next week for the Endurance Series, and 2 weeks again, of course, in these cars back again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's not been there in the interview room. First double or a day double win, for him here tonight. Imatus finished in second place, and we can chat to him now as well. Welcome in, good to have you with us, and congratulations on second place. How was the fight for that for the win there? Because you got to the front pretty early on. I've got to say you held the lead for a very long time as well. Just how was it to be defending for the lead around this circuit for such a long time?
Well, it's good to be back up here. So good to hear your voices, and yeah. I do quite enjoy playing defense. So I much prefer to be out front and trying to hold somebody back than trying to catch and pressure somebody. So I think that leans into it a little bit. But yeah, I knew I didn't have the pace to outright win. So it was just trying to hold him back as long as I could, as I was still learning the track. And that ended up paying off, as I was able to get past Nick after my bad pit stop.
So,
how would
sorry.
you explain the difference?
Go ahead.
I'll go to you after this one. How would you explain the difference in speed between yourself and Nicoletta between the first and the second part of that race? Before the pit stop, as you said, you were playing defence, and he was very much the one looking like he was faster, trying to get past. But as soon as the second stops happened, you got back past him, you overtook him, and then you drove away from him. How would you sort of explain the difference in speed, do you reckon, through the different two parts of that race in race two?
Well, the short answer is I hadn't run this car on this track prior to about 10 minutes before qualifying started. So it was just trying to figure out one corner at a time how to get through the track the fastest, and then 30 minutes into a 40-minute race, I kind of had the track figured out at that point.
So my question, we got a horrible lag, just so y'all know. I mean, I'm rude, but not that rude. So my question is two parts. First is, well, it's not really a question. First of all, congratulations. You had a heck of a run tonight in the second race. Not as great in the first race. What, can you kind of maybe give us an idea? Again, I guess you kind of already explained that in the sense that you were learning the track, so the laps were coming to you. But what happened on the pit stop there? You lost a couple seconds there, and ultimately that was really your killer tonight. It certainly gave them an opportunity to get by you without having to pass them on track.
That pit stop was my chance at the win out the window. Yeah, so qualifying for the race for the Heat 1, still hadn't really figured out a few of the corners, and that really showed in my starting down in like 12th, I think, is where I started. But I'm fairly confident in my ability and the car in general, so I can pretty easily make spots up when the field's tight in those first couple laps. Ended up getting up to like 8th, and then a couple people in front of me had problems or went off or something, and finished the heat in 6th, about 5 seconds on either side of me. So by the end of the heat, I wasn't really losing my group in front.
Yeah, so you were getting comfortable there, at least enough to stay with them.
But that helped me start out pretty strong. Feature race. Yeah. So getting a little more comfortable and then being able to start in front of them. And then when we were on the grid, Garlic Dog started on pole, came over the driver chat and said, I'm not feeling very confident on tires. Like, I'm going to brake early into turn 1. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to send it around your outside to turn 1. So that's how I got to the lead in the feature.
I hadn't
done a single I hadn't done a single pit stop pit entry, nothing at all. So I didn't know where the cones were. I didn't know what the pit speed was, and that's the reason my pit stop was so slow.
I apologize again for talking over you, man. The lag is incredibly bad. I literally thought you stopped talking and you were still talking. I just noticed you got the bomb pop on this livery as well. So you got it on your popsicle on the side of the car. Yes, I love the popsicle.
I have it on my real race car as well.
Oh, really?
It's on the roof of my real car.
What did you tell me you drove? We talked about that.
It's a 91 Camaro.
Oh, okay.
In body, it's not really got any 91 Camaro parts on it left.
Right. And you run that in what class?
The race series that I run it in is a NASA race series called CMC, which is Camaro Mustang Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 80s and 90s Camaros and Mustangs.
Asphalt?
Yes, asphalt road racing.
Road racing, okay. Hey, go ahead.
When you said NASA, I thought you were going to say on the moon. When you were racing that.
It's National Auto Sports Association.
I've never heard that before. Do they know the acronym's already taken?
Yeah.
Have you heard of SCCA?
Yes,
I have. Yeah.
So SCCA and NASA are so SCCA is more coastal, so it's West Coast and East Coast, and NASA is more middle of the country.
What part of the country do you live in?
I'm in Colorado.
Oh, nice. That ought to be interesting for normally aspirated engines. That ought to be fun to tune them for that.
Yeah, luckily the cars are modern-ish enough to have some engine control, because like I said, it's not really a drivetrain from the 90s.
Right. Well, congratulations again. You had a great run tonight. I know that you're probably bummed about that pit stop, but you still had a fantastic run. And every week you're getting better and better. Anybody you want to shout out to while we got you in here?
Yeah, shout out to my teammate Steve, even though he didn't show up. The weather's too nice where he's at. My wife for letting me come down here and do this on Wednesday nights, and the rest of the crew I hang out with. Erko was here for a little bit, even though he wasn't able to race. DC before he got crashed, G-Spot, and Black Bob.
All right, man. Congratulations one more time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. I was about to say exactly the same thing. Congratulations on the second place in race 2, especially. We'll hopefully see you in a week's time or 2 weeks' time again in the sprint series, of course.
Yeah, I hope so.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. That's it. We just did second place in the second race here tonight. Let's finally chat to Nicoletta before we sign off for the evening. Congratulations on a third place finish in race number 2 and a good fight there as well. Are you pleased to be on the podium, or maybe a bit disappointed you didn't get second, or maybe even first in a great free car battle we were just watching there for the race lead, of course?
Oh no, yeah. First off, good to hear from you guys, but I am very satisfied with the P3. I have never won a race in J2i, even though I've been here for 5 years, so podium's fine with me.
Oh, well, that race win's surely coming one day. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see when.
It's
But yeah, it's another good finish. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
No, as I said, he's the Nico Hulkenberg of J2.
Damn
It's a
right.
good comparison.
Hey,
It's a good comparison.
could be
How
a
is
lot
this,
worse than being Nico Hulkenberg. Believe me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's certainly true. How was this circuit in terms of overtaking? You were involved in that battle quite a lot in race 2, but also in race 1 as well. You were in amongst it. Notovin came in between the races to tell us that it's actually very difficult to overtake. Would you go along with that? How would you assess the racing itself here?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like at the start of the race, I had pace on Eat My Dust. Second half of the race, I don't think I did, but that first half, I just could not find a way past them. There were a few moments, I think, where we were either side by side or, nose to tail, but I just couldn't make it work. Ended up working out with the pit stop because I don't think he knew when to slow down. But yeah, that second half of the race, he just picked up out of nowhere, and I had nothing for him. And just to slide in an excuse in there, I added 11 X's, and one little touch would have sent me to a drive-through. So I wanted to really race him, but I also just wanted to come home clean with a podium. So that's the way it went.
Well, it was a good drive from you to get that podium and bring it home in 3rd place. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, give a shout out to you guys as always. You guys put on a great show. Give a shout out to I'm gonna give a shout out to Airco because I think I owe him one from like a year ago. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Shout out Airco, and yeah, shout out to my teammate, and I think that's all I got for tonight. Oh, and Lucas and Notovin for great racing tonight.
Don't ever say you don't pay your debts off.
Yeah, that's a long-standing one there. But there you go. Congratulations again on the podium. We'll hopefully see you again in a week or 2 weeks again in the Endurance and Sprint Series, of course.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
All right, man.
Thanks very much.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very much. Let's Nicolator in 3rd place here in race number 2, and still searching for that win, of course. But it's going to be 3rd place here today. We'll be following that story, of course, as the season continues on. Next time in the Sprint Series, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. That'll be at Misano, but we're returning in 1 week's time, of course, with the Endurance Series every Wednesday night here on the JP YouTube channel. We've got racing either in the Sprint or Endurance Series for you to enjoy. And tonight, Jim, we've very much enjoyed it here at Donington Park. Even though there were some doubters and detractors and as far as the racing goes and how difficult it might be to overtaking, I thought it was a circuit that raced pretty well.
I'm actually, I thought it raced great. I mean, there was, we might not have had a battle at the end of the race, but we definitely had some great battles up and down the field, early, mid-race. I mean, we saw some good action tonight for sure. I thought it raced fine. It was overall a good event as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Thoroughly enjoyed being alongside you as well for this broadcast here on the JP YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and check out all the other racing that goes on between now and our next J2iCS broadcast, which will be in the Endurance Series in exactly 7 days' time. I've been Ewan Leary alongside Jim Cunningham, and this has been the 4th round of the J2iCS Sprint Series here from Donington Park. In this series, we'll be back again in 2 weeks' time at Misano. We'll see you then, but from all of us here at Donington Park, it's goodbye for now.